Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Enoch's Tutorials. Don't forget to like and subscribe after watching the video so you can receive every bit of update from this channel. In today's video, we're going to look at the biochemical basis of jaundice. So you're going to look at what jaundice are and what causes jaundice. In the course, you're going to look at the types of jaundice, then the mechanism or the metabolism of bilirubin. So when we say jaundice is basically what is scientifically called the hyperbilirubinemia. Is the accumulation of excess bilirubin in the body. So in the system, when there is accumulation of excess bilirubinous substance in the system, this substance naturally is yellowish in nature. It causes disposition in the eye and the skin. That causes what the yellowish of the skin and also the sclera of the eye. So when we say bilirubin is basically a form of a compound. It's a compound which is produced from the breakdown of red blood cells. So you're going to look at what component in the red blood cells causes or forms the bilirubin. So now bear in mind that bilirubin as a compound or a non-compound is formed from the breakdown of what? The red blood cell, which is what the erythrocytes. So let's look at the structure of the red blood cells itself. So basically when you take a typical red blood cells, it is basically for what? The transport of oxygen due to the presence of hemoglobin. So the hemoglobin is the main compound found in the red blood cell which helps in the transport of oxygen from one part of the body to other or throughout the blood. So this is how hemoglobin look like in the red blood cells. As the name implies, it is made of two components. It is made of heme and globin protein. So the hemoglobin structure is made of four main proteins. This is one protein. This is the second protein, the third protein, and what? The fourth protein. So we have two alpha proteins and two beta proteins. All these proteins are what? Globins. So when we say hemoglobin, it is the mixture of globin proteins and heme. Now inside each of these four proteins are substances we call heme, and these are the hemes as shown inside each of the proteins. So this is how the heme look like. It is embedded in each of the proteins. And also inside the hemes are where you can locate an ion atom. So this is an ion, and the ion is basically for the transport of oxygen from one part of the body to the other. So this is how a heme look like. So this is a heme typically known as heme B. So this heme shown here, this heme is this. It is made of an ion which is embedded inside in four ring structures. So this ring structure is called a porphyrin ring, and each of these rings, 5-membered ring with a nitrogen, is called a pyro. So the hemoglobin or the heme is made of a porphyrin ring made of four pyros that embed ion in it. So basically, if the body wants to transport oxygen, the oxygen is being bound to this ion and is being transported from the blood or through the blood from one part of the body to the other. So the main idea is, since we have four hemes in what? The oxygen or four hemes in one hemoglobin can transport four atoms of oxygen at the same time. Now when this ion basically is being removed from the porphyrin ring, this one occurs during the breakdown or degradation of the red blood cells. The remaining porphyrin ring forms what they call a biliverdin, and the biliverdin is what changes to bilirubin and get accumulated in the system when it is not being removed or metabolized, which causes what? Jaundice. So let's look at something. Having understood here that the hemoglobin is made of two parts, the heme portion and the globin, and the globins are four proteins, two alpha and two beta, and each of the proteins accumulate inside it what? A heme, and the heme has the interior or inside what? Ion that binds the oxygen and transport. Let's look at the metabolism of what? The bilirubin itself, because the bilirubin, we said, it is formed when this ion is removed from what? The heme group, and the remaining compound here, the porphyrin ring, is being converted to what? The bilirubin. The bilirubin accumulates in the body and causes what? The jaundice. Let's look at something here. Let's look at the metabolism of bilirubin. Basically, red blood cells degradation, which is the erythrocyte or the hemolysis, occurs in the bone marrow, It can occur in the reticuloendothelial system of the spleen and also in the liver. So these are the three main organs where red blood cells breakdown occur. It can occur in the spleen, that is the reticuloendothelial system of the spleen. It can occur in the bone marrow. It can equally occur in the liver. So let's say these are the red blood cells. So when these red blood cells break down, we are going to expose the heme, because when they break down, we are going to expose the hemoglobin, and when the hemoglobin break apart, we are going to release the proteins. The proteins will form part of the body system where the amino acids can be used for different protein synthesis, and the heme groups are going to be exposed. As I said earlier, the heme group is made of 4 pyrules. So the 4 pyrules are what form the porphyrin ring. Inside the 4 pyrules are where you can locate the ion that bonds the oxygen for the transport. Basically, when the heme group is being exposed or released from the hemoglobin, each of the heme group gets reduced, or when the ion is removed from the heme group, it eventually changes to what? Bilirubin. This bilirubin structure is not soluble in the human system. So in the blood, when this bilirubin is present, if it is not being solubilized through conjugation, it will remain in the blood and get accumulated. When it gets accumulated, that is why it is going to affect what? It's going to cause the yellowish or the yellowing of the skin and the eye, which we call the jaundice. So for the body to eliminate the bilirubin from the system, the body will bind this bilirubin, which is water soluble, with an albumin, and this albumin is highly water soluble. Now the binding of the albumin through the bilirubin is what you call conjugation. So when we add an albumin, this is an albumin, to the bilirubin, we form what? The conjugated bilirubin, which is having a fused albumin together with the bilirubin. Now this bilirubin now gets transported to what? Transported to the liver. Now in the liver, it undergoes further metabolism where it is being released again into the bile ducts. Then in the bile ducts, that is where it can now move to. Now in the bile duct, that's where it can now move to the intestine for further metabolism and excretion to occur. So let's look at the detailed mechanism for metabolism of bilirubin. So this is the red blood cells that get broken down in the bone marrow. This can occur in the spleen or even in the liver. The red blood cells we say contains the heme. The heme containing protein is what we call the hemoglobin. So when the red blood cells break down, it exposes the hemoglobin, and each of the hemoglobin also get breakdown, and the globin proteins, as we said earlier, get released to the other part of the body where the amino acids get used for other protein synthesis. So when there's breakdown of the hemoglobin, the heme is being released. Basically, when the heme is being released, the next action is the action caused by an enzyme called the heme oxygenase. The heme oxygenase causes the removal of the ion from the heme group and further reduction of the heme group to what we call an intermediate biliverdin. So when the heme is being oxidized by the heme oxygenase, the ion is being removed, then we get an eventual what? Biliverdin. So the biliverdin is just when the ion is removed from the heme group. Now when the biliverdin is being formed, the next action is by an enzyme called the biliverdin reductase. This biliverdin reductase, basically as the name implies, it reduces the biliverdin to what we call bilirubin. The bilirubin is an unconjugated form, that is to say it is not soluble in the blood when it's being converted first by the biliverdin reductase. So in the unconjugated form, what happens is it now gets conjugated by glucuronic acid. So the glucuronic acid, which is the UCB, glucuronic acid will come and conjugate or add up to the bilirubin and oxidize or increase its polarity. When it gets conjugated by the glucuronic acid, it is now then transported together with albumin. Albumin helps in the transportation of the glucuronic acid fused with the bilirubin with the help of an enzyme, gluconeotransferase. That transfers the conjugated bilirubin from the blood to the liver. Now in the liver, the bilirubin reaches the liver in a conjugated form, where the bilirubin is fused or bound to what? The glucuronic acid to form what? Glucuronate. So as shown here, when the albumin help in transporting of the unconjugated bilirubin here, it gets fused or conjugated to the glucuronic acid. Then the glucuronic acid together with the bilirubin get transported by the glucuronate transferase into the bilirubin into the the liver. Now in the liver, there is further transport of the conjugated bilirubin from the liver to the intestines through the bile duct. So in the bile duct, that is where the liver or the bilirubin get exposed to the small intestines and the large intestines. Now in the large intestines, there's further reduction on oxidation. When the conjugated bilirubin reaches the intestines, large intestines, there is going to be a reduction to form what? A urobilinogen, and further oxidation to form a urobilin, which get released in the urine through the kidney. Once again, it can further undergo a deconjugation system to form what? A stegobilinogen, and further oxidation to form what? A stegobilin. And this stegobilin is what forms part of the feces. So basically, the yellowish color of the feces is due to the presence of what? Stegobilin. This stegobilin is what makes the feces yellow. And what makes the urine yellow is over the presence of urobilin. So basically, the color of the bilirubin is yellowish in color. So if there is any disorder that impairs the transport of the bilirubin from the body, and thus increase the accumulation of the bilirubin in the system, that will cause what? A jaundice. Let's look at the types of jaundice. So jaundice can come in three forms. We can have a prehepatic jaundice, as the name implies. We can have a hepatic jaundice and also a post-hepatic jaundice. Or you can have a pre-hepatocellular jaundice, a hepatocellular jaundice, and a post-hepatocellular jaundice. When we say a prehepatic jaundice, as the name implies, if there is a defect that prevents the bilirubin from reaching the liver, that defect will cause a prehepatic jaundice. So the pre means before. Any defect that can cause or that can stop the bilirubin from reaching the liver causes a prehepatic jaundice. This can be, let's say, a low level of, let's say, glucuronic acid, maybe absence of the albumin, because all these compounds helps in transport of what? The bilirubin from the blood to the liver. So if any of this disorder is there, this can cause increase or high elevation of what? The elevation level of the bilirubin. That can cause a prehepatic jaundice. So the prehepatic jaundice basically leads to an increase in an unconjugated bilirubin. We have the hepatic jaundice. This one basically occurs when there is a damage to any of the liver cells that helps in the transport of the conjugated bilirubin. For the hepatic jaundice, it can lead to an elevation level of what? Either a conjugated or unconjugated bilirubin. The post-hepatic jaundice occurs when the transport of the bilirubin from the liver to the bile duct and to the intestines is at a defect. For that matter, the post-hepatic jaundice will lead to an elevated level of a conjugated bilirubin. So these are the types of bilirubin. Basically, if any of them occurs, it can lead to high level of what? Bilirubin. If any of this type of jaundice occurs, it can lead to an elevated level of bilirubin, and that can cause yellowing of the skin and the eye, which we call jaundice. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for watching so you can receive every bit of updates from this channel. Thank you.